Today is Thursday, November 9th. We're talking about how the U.S. is now responding to a series of attacks on American troops overseas, and what top Hamas leaders are admitting about their vision for Gaza and desire for permanent war. Also, what controversial issues had Republicans butting heads at last night's GOP debate. Plus, we'll explain the deal that's ending a historic actors' strike, the FDA's decision to approve an Ozempic rival for weight loss, and highlights from the biggest night in country music. Those stories and even more news to know next. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. The U.S. military launched airstrikes against militia groups in the Middle East for the second time in less than 2 weeks. This time, they hit a weapons warehouse in eastern Syria. Officials say it belonged to Iranian-backed groups who have been trying to take advantage of the war in Gaza in hopes of advancing their own extremism. So the U.S. airstrikes are in response to those groups attacking American personnel in the region in recent weeks. Dozens of American service members have been hurt in those attacks. After the U.S. military launched its own response yesterday, it's not clear if any militia members were hurt, but the U.S. did say there were no civilian casualties. It was really meant to just take out supplies, weapons, and ammunition. Similar U.S. airstrikes also targeted facilities in Syria late last month, but officials say those didn't deter further attacks against U.S. troops like they were hoping. So they had to once again use military force and said they will continue to do so as needed. At the same time, the U.S. has moved even more military equipment and troops into the region to help beef up protection for American forces. Speaking of which, one pretty expensive piece of equipment got shot down yesterday. The Pentagon says an American surveillance drone that cost around $32 million was downed by an Iranian-backed group near Yemen. The drone was operating in international airspace over international waters at the time. And the U.S. military is now investigating the incident to decide what to do next. We are getting some new insight about the terror attack last month that killed about 1,400 people and sparked a devastating war in the Middle East that's now killed thousands more. The New York Times interviewed leaders of the Hamas terror group who were behind the assault in Israel, and some of them told the Times their objective was to cultivate instability throughout the whole region so the world would wake up and show support for the Palestinian cause. They also said even though they technically control Gaza, they have no desire to govern Gaza or even help the people get essential supplies like water or electricity. Instead, they want a permanent war on all fronts, no matter what toll it takes on the Palestinian people. In fact, they knew Israel would respond by bombarding Gaza, killing Palestinian civilians, and leveling their neighborhoods. But Western leaders are still calling for peace. Just yesterday, foreign ministers from the world's 7 largest industrialized democracies condemned both the Hamas attack on Israel and the ongoing humanitarian crisis in Gaza. The G7 then called for humanitarian pauses in the fighting to allow more aid to enter and to help protect Palestinian civilians. The White House and NATO support humanitarian pauses for the same reasons. While Israel is telling civilians in Gaza to evacuate, it has not let up on its ongoing barrage of airstrikes or its ground war. Though this week, there has been at least a little bit of progress when it comes to aid. More than 100 trucks full of supplies made it into Gaza last night, which is the largest humanitarian convoy in a single day since they were first allowed through the Egyptian border crossing. And aid groups say this needs to continue, that Gaza needs at least this many trucks every day, which is still a fifth of the aid it received before the war started. The U.S. authorities busted what they're calling a high-end brothel network whose clients included elected officials, military officers, tech executives, professors, doctors, lawyers, and so on. Altogether, the Justice Department says hundreds of wealthy and well-connected customers paid up to $600 an hour for prostitutes who were being exploited through sex trafficking. The feds arrested 3 people accused of operating the brothels, but prosecutors say this investigation is just getting started. Law enforcement is apparently gathering more evidence now and is especially investigating the potential clients. The DOJ did not actually name any of them yet. At the third GOP debate, Republicans running for president made it clear they are all very different candidates, going for the same party's nomination. 5 of the top contenders took the stage in Miami last night. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, South Carolina Senator Tim Scott, entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy, and former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. For a third time, the Republican frontrunner, former President Trump, did not show and held a rally in a nearby suburb instead. Even without him, things got tense. At times, the debate devolved into brutal personal attacks, calling each other names like loser and scum. But they also got into their differences on the issues. For example, on abortion. Scott called for a federal ban on the procedure after 15 weeks of pregnancy. Christie said it should be up to the states. And Ramaswamy spoke about laws to make men legally responsible for parenthood so women won't even need as many abortions anyway. On other issues, Haley separated herself from other top candidates like DeSantis and Trump by calling for significant changes to Social Security and other entitlement programs. Also, Scott had a unique take on the Mideast crisis by calling for the U.S. to directly strike Iran for supporting militant groups. And DeSantis has gotten attention for saying he wants to shut down the southern border. The candidates also got into the budget, energy policy, Ukraine, China, TikTok, and other issues. After things wrapped up, President Biden's campaign manager responded by saying all the Republicans have policy platforms that will make things worse for Americans and take away freedoms. Of course, Republicans say the same thing about Biden. Remember, the president does now have a real primary challenger in Congressman Dean Phillips, but so far no Democratic debates have been scheduled. Still ahead, we are talking about the actor strike, a just-approved weight loss drug, country music's biggest night, and more. But first, a quick break for our sponsor. I had heard about AG1 on other podcasts before, so I was intrigued. But when they sent me some to try, I realized how beneficial it is. It's now part of my morning routine. 1 scoop mixed with water, that's it. And I've really noticed it helps me feel energized. I also love that I don't need to take a million different pills each day. Just 1 daily scoop of AG1 covers my day's nutritional bases and supports my long-term gut health with 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, and whole food-sourced ingredients. I like to add ice and a splash of lemon juice to mine, and it's nice tasting. It's really easy to drink. I actually love that it makes hydrating first thing in the morning so much easier. AG1 was created in 2010 and has helped millions of mornings begin on a healthier foundation ever since. If you are looking for a simpler, effective investment for your health, try AG1 and get 5 free AG1 travel packs and a free 1-year supply of vitamin D with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/newsworthy. That's drinkag1.com/newsworthy. Check it out. Okay, now back to the news. The longest ever actors strike is now officially over. The Screen Actors Guild's negotiating committee announced a deal with studios that put an end to the nearly 4-month strike. The exact terms of the agreement are expected to come out tomorrow, but already the trade association that represents the big studios has given a few general details, saying it includes the largest minimum wage hike in the last 40 years, new residuals for streaming programs, and more contributions to the SAG health and pension plans. Plus, it establishes new rules for artificial intelligence. Overall, it's a 3-year contract valued at more than $1 billion. The Actors Union just has to vote to formally authorize the deal, likely in the coming days. But the picket lines have already been closed, and with that, the broadcast networks are hoping they'll be able to salvage at least part of the next TV season, while movies can start filling out the release schedules. The FDA is now giving its official green light to a medicine that's become wildly popular for weight loss already. The drug was originally approved for diabetes, but doctors have been prescribing it off-label for weight loss, even in patients without diabetes. And now the FDA says the drug can be marketed that way too. For diabetes, the drug is Monjaro, but for weight loss, it will be called Zepbound, even though it's the same thing. Just like a similar drug is called Ozempic for diabetes, but Wegovy for weight loss. With Zepbound specifically, clinical trials found over 72 weeks, patients lost more than 20% of their weight on average. Those results are better than other approved weight loss medicines, and they're about the same as the results from bariatric surgery. But this whole class of drugs that includes Zepbound and Wegovy has been criticized, mostly because they're expensive and many people who lose weight regain it after they stop taking the medicines. Plus, there are side effects for the drugs, the most common ones being stomach problems. Though certain doctors who support these medicines point out that there are also side effects from obesity that could be much worse. Zepbound will be available in the U.S. by the end of the year. A couple of major tech companies are anticipating unprecedented challenges during the 2024 election year, specifically pointing to the use of artificial intelligence. Microsoft and Meta are both worried about political campaigns, foreign governments, or others using AI to mislead and misinform on a scale that's never been seen before. So first, Meta, which owns Facebook and Instagram, has a new rule starting next year. It says it will require advertisers to disclose when they run political ads with media that has been altered by AI or other software. For example, if it shows someone saying something they never said, or a realistic-looking event that never actually happened, it would have to be labeled. Google unveiled a similar AI labeling policy for YouTube earlier this year, too. Meanwhile, Microsoft will be offering a new service for politicians and their campaigns, giving them the chance to insert a digital watermark on their videos and ads. The goal is to make sure voters better understand who created the ads and ensure the content cannot be used by others in a malicious or misleading way. All of this said, keep in mind, both Microsoft and Meta are also heavily invested in AI themselves. Many of the biggest names in country music got together for last night's 57th Annual Country Music Association Awards, aka the CMAs. The top honor of the night, Entertainer of the Year, went to the breakout star, Lainey Wilson, who also won for Album of the Year and Female Vocalist of the Year. Male Vocalist of the Year went to Chris Stapleton for the 7th time. Luke Combs won Single of the Year and Song of the Year for his cover of Tracy Chapman's Fast Car, showing how deep-rooted that song is for people even 35 years after the original came out. And since Chapman was also named on the song, that made her the first Black woman to win a CMA award in the show's history. Of course, the show was also packed with performances, including a moving tribute to the late music legend Jimmy Buffett. And the whole thing was hosted by Luke Bryan and Peyton Manning, who kicked things off with a joke about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. If you missed it, you can watch the full show on Hulu. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Thing to Know Thursday. But first, this episode is sponsored by Uncommon Goods. Uncommon Goods is your solution for finding truly unique and fun gifts for everyone on your shopping list, stress-free, and all in one place. So let me lay out a few super cute gift ideas that I've been eyeing. One is the Book Nook Reading Valet. It's this really nice-looking wood bedside stand that holds your spot in your book, has a spot for reading glasses, a beverage, and even your phone. I would give this to a family member or close friend who loves to read, but I would also love to receive this gift. Or for your partner or friend who always makes the best cocktails, there's this glass topper cocktail smoker, which will help them take it to a whole other level with a cloud of aromatic smoke. And then you've got all the great sets like 12 Days of Hot Sauce, a gourmet olive oil dipping set, artisan rainbow dumpling set, or everything you could ever want for that coffee or tea lover in your life. I mean, the list goes on and on. Uncommon Goods has all kinds of great, high quality and unique gifts. So go get 15% off your next gift. Go to uncommongoods.com/newsworthy. That's uncommongoods.com/newsworthy for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we are all out of the ordinary. Okay, now back to Thing to Know Thursday. So the time period to sign up for or change insurance plans through the Affordable Care Act has officially begun. Remember, if you are not already getting insurance through an employer, the ACA does offer some options. And some people could even get subsidies meant to lower the cost of paying for health insurance. Last year, a record number of Americans enrolled in ACA insurance plans. And this year, the number is expected to be even higher. Health policy experts and brokers recommend all current ACA policyholders at least look at next year's options because prices and in-network doctors may have changed. And ultimately, whether you decide to enroll in ACA or health insurance through work, you'll want to check the deadlines for open enrollment. In most states, open enrollment for the Affordable Care Act lasts through January 15th. Though you need to choose your plan by December 15th if you want your coverage to actually begin at the start of next year. All right, thank you so much for listening today. If you're new here, be sure to hit that follow button in your favorite podcast app to get new free episodes every day and stay in the know. We'll catch you up on more news to know tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.